So thank you, by the way, for carving the time out. I appreciate it. It's been a little while since we've caught up. How far post-transaction are we now?
We are July this year will be 3 years already. So
Okay.
pretty crazy. Doesn't seem like it. It's gone fast. A lot of movement, a lot of transition. For sure. Yeah, it's been good though.
So what does it look like for you now post-transaction? You're almost at 3 years. Give me the overall rundown of where you're at with things.
Yeah, so pretty much right away, for whatever reason, they threw me some keys, if you will, and initially started out sort of mentoring some of the other brands in the Wisconsin Minnesota region,
Had
and
you
then
doing that?
about yeah,
Yep.
and then about a year and a half ago, 2 years, I guess now, we switched to a regional sort of structure. So I am one of five regional directors within Heartland, and my region is that Wisconsin, Minnesota area. So I have seven brands in total, as well as still GMing the primary brand Hurlburt. So
Yep.
I do have a really good operations manager here now. So he's sort of doing the heavy lifting, and I'm just on the outside looking at it a little bit. So.
But your responsibilities and your scope of work have changed from micro to a much larger scenario where you have the ability, based upon what you built, obviously with Herbal, which is pretty impressive, to affect more change than you would in
Yeah,
a single
yeah.
location, right?
Yeah, that's right. Brian, you've been around this business also, and so you know that the vast majority of operators, even ones with good numbers and seemingly solid operations, like we all lack a lot of little pieces that really tie efficiencies and profitability together. And so by taking the best of everything and spreading that out, also consolidating maybe some roles. We don't need a marketing person at seven brands.
Right.
Just cost savings, but as much as anything, just sort of really spreading the best practices. That's what I'm doing every day.
Yeah, but you're not, well, I'd say you've risen above, but you're looking at it differently. When you're in it, it's hard to say, I don't need that person. I can consolidate those roles. Like there is what's that saying? Strength in numbers. Like sometimes it feels good to have the people around. You're like, okay, maybe
For
they're not
sure.
great, but I
For
can get
sure.
them to do stuff and they show up on time and da da da. But now
Yeah.
that you're running a business and you realize it is different when you're PE backed, right? You could take some of
Yeah.
those risks to maybe I wouldn't necessarily say let some of those people go, but some of the
Yeah.
consolidation and some of the things that maybe aren't truly necessary in the business,
Right.
get
Right.
a little leaner, get a little bit more profitable, right? Because you're playing for a second flip, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think also when you're running your own thing, there are a lot of different paths sort of in your head, different trains you're trying to keep on the track.
Yep.
It's keep this machine running, continue growing, don't overextend too far in any one direction, just in case you need to pull it back. Don't
Right.
be afraid to make decisions and go in new directions. And you're trying to balance all these pieces, keep all the plates spinning. With PE, it does allow you to be much more, I don't want to say risky because that's not the name of the game either, but
Right.
take more calculated risks,
Right.
knowing that you're more diverse in your footprint, and maybe swing for some home runs every now and then versus just let's just go for doubles. So it is a different ball game, and to me, somebody who's never been afraid of taking those chances. And mitigating risk where I can, but always betting on myself. It's a lot of fun because I'm not worried about the wheels falling off it because we're good, man.
Yeah, with the we hear it, by the way, right, with the HVAC guys. They hit shoulder season and rip their hair out. Like, oh, if we were only doing plumbing, right?
Yeah,
Of course, grass is always greener, right? They wake up after a couple bad days where the weather isn't cooperative. Their boards aren't loaded up with installs or service,
right.
and whatever it is, there was something gas. There's a gap. They're paying people. People aren't really doing anything. Like, oh my God, what are we doing? We should have gotten into plumbing. All right, let's add plumbing. Like,
Yeah,
voila, right? It's a knee jerk to what's going on instead of a calculated sitting down with the partner and says, okay, are we efficient here? And what do we mean by efficient on the HVAC side? We've taken a look at the numbers. Is your profitability on your HVAC, is it at X percent. By the way, you can call me. We can talk through any of that stuff. Not you, for anybody listening.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that. And if you're running an efficient business and you're good, then and only then, shouldn't add it on to go ahead and grab revenue. I think, to your point, you sit with these brands, you see these owners and they're looking at it from this really small view and they're looking at the bank account and realizing, I got to do something. I got to do something. It's a long game. It's hard to see that. But I think given your background, coming from the automotive industry, right? I think you were in it for 19 years. By the way, thank you
Right.
for filling all that information. I was
You got it.
brilliant, by the way. You got into this game in the HVAC and plumbing space, the home service space, late.
Late and blind a little bit, if we're being
Right.
very honest, Brian. I mean, not coming from this industry at all. I didn't grow up in it. I didn't inherit it. I didn't work in it. I've never been a technician. I've never run a service call. I've never run a sales call. Like, I mean, honestly, as I look back, I was doing really well, in my former life. And I don't know if my nuts are big enough to do that kind of thing again. Like, I look back and I say, like, who intervened to make me jump off that
What
bridge?
was it that the light bulb went off that said, hey, it's time for a change?
Yeah, I sort of looked at the trajectory. I was doing really well. I mean, in my mind, I was making, better part of 100 and a half a year. And I don't have a college education. I went to tech school, man. I grew up in a trailer park. Like, I've outpunted my coverage already in my mind, right? Because I didn't know what the limits were. I know I'm doing well. I guess I'm here, right? But I started looking at the trajectory of where I was at. 19 years painting cars, loved it, loved the people I worked with. The next step, because your body can only take so much of that, is to either become a service writer or a manager. Both are a huge step back in pay and way more pain in the ass because everybody wants a piece of you now. You got the customer, you got the technicians, all want some of you. So that just didn't seem really appealing to me. I liked my place in life and in my earnings, so I started looking elsewhere and decided on the home services industry because it is generally non-discretionary. I didn't tell my wife this or anybody, honestly. And I spent a year, I subscribed to every online forum and every industry magazine. I learned everything I could. I studied every software, best practices. I was all over the place. I probably, and I'm not exaggerating, signed well over 100 NDAs in a 12-month period. Back then wasn't what it is now. Everything was listed online, generally biz
Yep.
buy sell and names some of these other online brokers, right? So I was just signing NDAs left and right, and so I had seen so many numbers and so many sims from other businesses that I had a very good idea in a snapshot of what a profitable good business looked like. From that point, man, my wife was laying in bed reading a book one night, and I walked in and I said, hey, what do you think about selling everything and buying a heating and plumbing business? She's like, took her glasses off. She's like, what are you talking? Like, seriously, like you've been drinking, kind of thing. So we started looking at businesses. I mean, Indiana, Ohio, Utah, Florida, Texas, you name it, all over, and ended up in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. So that's how I got into it, man. Coming totally blind. And in a lot of ways, I think that was a blessing because I had no preconceived notions.
Yep.
Like, I was just numbers. Like,
Yep.
what should we be charging? All right, we got to change this.
Yep.
I mean, like, literally nothing, no prior history of what do my competitors charge? Like, none of that shit was in my mind,
Sure. Sure. And 19 years. I mean, so how old were you when you made this shift?
I'm sorry, how old was I?
How old, when you
Yeah,
went from automotive into the home service space?
I was 42. So
Which is like by that time in the home service space, you were like a seasoned vet.
yeah,
Not starting out. You're a
yeah,
seasoned vet. But by that point in time, you're starting to forget information in
yeah.
that space. And you ran Hurlburt for how many years?
7.5 before we sold for transaction. Yeah. Which doesn't seem that long, honestly.
You know what it is and it isn't, right? It's all relative to the viewer. But I think what again, as I reviewed through the transaction, I mean, it's not like you were in a major market, but you built a pretty significant business. Like when you
Yeah.
step back and look at it, because now you see these other owners. So you're looking at it from such a different perspective. Are you putting yourself in their seat saying, I remember being in that seat. How are they not seeing the things that I saw? How are
Yeah.
they not treating their people this way? Don't they realize the business is developed around people? And if you can develop the people, you'll get that much more, like playing the longer game.
So it is because, as in my mind, because I'm a little sadistic, I say like, man, like, what if I lost everything tomorrow and I had to start over? And I say, it would sort of be fun on one hand a little bit, because it's sort of like proving out your theories and your practices and your direction by doing it again. Like, I'm not just a one trick pony kind of thing, right?
Right.
And then I think, like, it's really business, like a lot of things. We say it's like, well, it's like riding a bike. In some ways it is. And I refer to it as like putting a desk together, a grill. If you're putting five of them together, the first one takes you much, much longer than the second one versus the third versus fourth. Once you've been down the path, all that. Not only do you know which way to go, more importantly, you know which ways not to go.
Right.
And so I tell my son who's 14 all the time, like, check your ego every day. I know you're a teenager, and so you think you know everything, but you don't. And the quicker you get over that, the more successful you will be in life. Like, ask people. I mean, we say it all the time. Don't be afraid to ask the stupid question, because there isn't one. You
Right.
find highly successful people, whether it's this industry or another, they're more than willing to offer up any piece of advice, give you their time, so long as you're listening, you're paying attention, and you put it into practice. They don't want to waste their time on somebody who is wasting their time, kind of thing. So
It's, I mean, again, starting late, you had to figure things out pretty damn quickly. I'm sure you were not sitting there with this 7 or 8 figure bank account to go ahead and make stuff happen so that you can make mistakes all over the place. I mean, you went after it differently. Like the fact that you took the time for a year to say, okay, what does all of this look like, right? Or more, to study it, to figure it out. Where could I go right with this? Where could I go wrong with this? Okay, I feel pretty comfortable and go all in. That's a lot of research, a lot of reading, but you were dedicated, you were clear on what you wanted to do, right? And now you fast forward 27, called 27 years, add three onto it, called 30 years in, right? And you're at a whole different place. Now you're able to affect change so much differently than you could have ever imagined. What advice would you give some of these? There's a lot of companies, the business owners that listen to this that are, called sub 5 million,
yeah.
in revenue. What advice would you give to that person who maybe they're in the business a little bit longer, maybe they're a little bit older, they're still scratching their head? I could only imagine the pressure, right? Everybody on Facebook's a billionaire. By the way, SF&P has sold every business here for $100+ million. So
I've heard that. Yeah.
yeah, if you're a $5 billion business, it's a problem. You're not doing something right. I'll give you my answer. My answer is always, hey, if you're happy with what you're doing, right? And you're in a lifestyle business, that's one thing. But if you want to grow, even because you're older, doesn't mean you can't do it. There's this mindset that says, oh, only the young guys. They're Travis Ringies, the Ishmael. Oh my God, look at Tommy Mello, $6 trillion on a garage business.
Yeah.
And Jason Henderson did this. And, Ishmael out there. Oh my God, I can't believe what these guys are doing. I got it. And not everybody is them. And not everybody's Michael Jordan. But if you look around the NBA, there's a lot of people that made a lot of money.
Yeah.
They aren't Hall of Famers. They weren't on the dream team. Like,
Right.
it's nice to aspire to that, but go ahead.
Right. So I think when you look at, I mean, you just listed some all-stars for sure, right? And when you look at those guys, or anybody who has done well or is doing well, and not just in business but in life, they are willing to pivot, like at any given moment. Like, they're not afraid to make a bad decision. As a matter of fact, like, I sort of relish a bad decision, because I learn something every time, and you will never learn if you don't make a wrong move now and then. And so it's a great opportunity to learn something. So these people, myself included, like, every day we're looking for the next thing, the thing we need to change, because we know if we keep doing what we're doing right now, we will always be making $5 million a year.
Right.
And unless we screw that up, and more than likely we will, by not changing.
Right.
So we need to always be looking at the next thing, not get stuck in like, we've always done it this way, because I say here, like, we do things the way we do now because it's the best way that we know to do it, and we'll do it that way until we find a better way, and we're looking every single day. And so
Yeah,
Look
that
for the
constant,
new.
never ending improvement, right?
Yeah, that's right. Always best practice groups. If I was in a $5 million, and that was sort of what helped me, a best practice group, whether it's, Nexstar, BDR, Service Nation Alliance, like choose your best practice groups, but like jump in there. That will dramatically flatten out the learning curve for you. Dramatically.
Which one were you part of again? I forgot.
Service Nation Alliance.
Sure, SNA. And within Service Nation Alliance, there's two different tiers, right? You got Service Roundtable, which is, hey, we can limp in, get an idea of what's going on. Or you could go to the next level, which is the SNA level, which is, hey,
Yeah.
I got mentoring, I got coaching. And
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why you do that is it's almost like buying like there's a reason why people buy franchises, right? They want to take that crazy learning curve out of play. They want to take the stress out of play for people that have already been through it. My God, for you with what you did, probably one of the best things you ever did. Who were your coaches? Who were your coaches over in SNA?
Man, so I took on everybody. I called everybody from Chris Hunter to the LaPlante,
Yep.
the numbers folks,
Sure.
like straight to the top with Matt Michelle, like everybody. I mingled. I showed up every Tuesday to my meetings that were scheduled with 6 or 7 other companies around the nation. That we shared everything, every practice, every piece of paper, our numbers, like, hey, how comes we're not doing well on memberships? Here's what we do. And
Right.
that honestly, like that was my secret. And then obviously being willing to change, not being stuck in a rut. And so you can have all the best people around you. They can share every bit of information they have and their exact blueprint to success. But if you are not willing to put the time in and implement it, it's not a magic bullet. Whether it's Service Titan, I watch people, bash on Service Titan online or pick it. Like you can't fit Service Titan into your business. You have to fit your business into Service Titan, and if you do that, it will work well. So much the same. Like don't you need a full system. You can't just choose one piece and say, well, everything else we're going to do the way we always have, and we're going to expect something different. Like you have to literally open up your mind to 100% change at any time, any day, and knowing that it's going to be that way forever. It never stops. You
Never.
always have to be changing.
That's the insanity of business ownership, right? You're at the tip of the spear all of the time.
Embrace it.
You're never riding a coach.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
else is not steering the bus for you, right? And
Yeah.
speaking of that, again, you've been in the space for a shorter period of time, less than a decade, but in
Yeah.
that less than a decade, I mean, you saw some pretty significant change, right? From the, oh my God, Service Titan basically was born and raised through that time. All the
Yeah.
different ways that you can market and advertise. Now you're at the tail end. AI just got big within the last 2 years, but I'm sure on the other side, you're seeing this talked about all the time. How do you think these things affect our space?
In a lot of ways, I don't know exactly. I don't think anybody does because there's not a day that I don't get 2 or 3 emails from another company, AI
Yeah.
company that I've never heard of before,
Yep.
offering the best, call center option, the best sales presentation. And much of this, these companies are springing up overnight with some very smart people for sure
Sure.
to put it together, but it's almost all open source. None of these companies in my mind, I haven't seen, they'll tell you otherwise.
Right.
I haven't seen any special sauce. They're using off the shelf transcription. They're using a large language model from, pick one of your 4 or 5. Like there's not a bunch of special sauce. So I don't know where this goes just yet, but I know we better all pay attention and at least get on one of them just so that we can learn along the way. Because if we wait until there's something perfect and dialed in, it's too late. We're behind.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I'm enjoying it. We have definitely jumped in head first. Heartland Home Services made a significant investment in an AI startup, and it's paying dividends for sure. Myself and a couple other brands on the platform out of 43 have been the test beds for it, and my mind's blown away by what it does, and in what they say in time it will do. We'll see. Is game changing. Yeah.
It's it is a very unique time to be in our space for a number of reasons, right? Um, I mean, the multiples got nuts. When you got in, they were just starting. you get it over the hump of COVID, everything got crazy. The numbers,
Yeah.
I get asked the same question all the time. Hey, where are numbers at? It really haven't changed. If you're big,
Yeah.
you're going to get paid. But let me preface this by saying, if one more person out there tells me they're getting 15x, it just, you understand when private equity buys a business, they're buying you at one number, they want to help you grow, they're getting an arbitrage. If they
Yeah.
buy a portfolio at 16x, they're not paying you 15.
No.
It doesn't work.
What we see, what the latest platform was to have a transaction was what, probably Sela, you know,
The fourth quarter. Yeah.
yeah, at around 18-ish, you know. So to your point, they're not paying somebody 15. There's not enough delta there.
No. Yeah,
So
no.
it's craziness for sure. But that said, to your point, a good business will be taken care of, and mine, I don't know. I think I had a transaction at a really good time. We're all platforms are digging in much deeper than we did
Yeah.
in the heat of things, you know. We went from no offers to 5 offers in like 4 or 5 days, after 3 conversations over a 3-day period of time with 5 different buyers. So, and from engagement to close in like literally 90 days, Brian.
Yours was not a normal scenario.
No, that's crazy.
But that's
That's
also,
not happening.
but that's a testament to you as the owner too. Like, keep in mind, when these conversations happen to sell the business, they're buying your team, but they're looking at the leader who put it together, right? And you were incredibly impressive with all of your phone calls and we'll call them interviews and sit downs and management meetings and so on and so forth, that they realized that they were getting a mature owner, that what he said was actually what happened. It's not
Yeah.
like, hey, somebody said this. Okay, let's check the numbers. Let's see what's really going on. Are they just paying us lip service because they're trying to get a number or not? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that either. Private equity
Yeah.
is pretty smart. They are going to see the forest through the trees. I don't care how well you try and camouflage things, it's going to be seen.
Yeah.
We coach our guys on this all the time. Tell us everything. I want to know everything. Want to know where all the bodies are buried so we can understand it.
Yeah.
Figure out if there's some solutions out of this or how it could be, we can frame it, explain it properly so as not to be a detriment to you, but you didn't have that issue, right? I mean, your stuff,
No.
they came
No.
in and you were in a smaller market.
Yeah.
Which people ask that question too. Hey, I'm in a secondary market. What does that mean? May not mean anything. For the right buyer who's looking to bring EBITDA in, it may not mean anything. For a geographical buyer that always has holdings in and around you, it may not mean anything, right? So I tell everybody where we used to have a little bit of a problem with it, not a problem, maybe we're going to get the same multiple, the same whatever. It's not the same deal as it was from before.
Yeah. I think to your point, it comes down to the team, the
Oh, yeah.
leader in the team and sort of what have you done? What's your trajectory look like? If you've always been, 4 to 5 million for the last 4 or 5 years, it's not a great story to PE because they're buying growth. They're not buying stagnation, right? That's, they make their money on the growth piece. So, I know probably plenty of folks that you speak with or that are in this industry are not in the big, MSAs. They're just not, and so they're guys, dudes like me. And I think there's a certain amount of value in the smaller markets because the competition's lower also from the highly developed
Oh, yeah.
businesses. So if you have an outstanding system and in business, you can really take market share. And we learned that about 18 months ago. We did a market share study in my direct market, in which we have to drive 60 miles in every direction to reach about 280,000 people. Like that's crazy. Yet we had 16.7% through 2 different studies, 16.7 and 17 on another, of the market share. That's incredible. That's huge.
Yep.
There isn't much more left on the bone there. You can add additional verticals and go after those, with your existing customer base, which we've done. But otherwise, it's, we're moving west, folks. So yeah.
Hey, what were the existing verticals they brought in post-transaction?
So we were heating, air conditioning, and plumbing
Right.
on sale, and then we added electrical and water care, like full-fledged water care last June. So
I love that. And the reason why I asked that question, by the way, is again, same thing. Owners sit back and say, oh, grass is always greener. Let's go do this.
yeah,
Part of the beauty about being part of a portfolio is within that portfolio, I'm sure some water treatment expert came in and said, here's how we run this division. Here's the standard operating procedure. Here's how we sell it. Here's how we charge. Here's what the install looks like. We've got a call out base to be able to sample with it to build our base and build our initial crew and build off of it, even with electric. But for you to sit back and say, let me go take on something brand new that I don't know much about, stumble over this while I'm still trying to carry the plumbing and HVAC business, it's difficult to do, right?
yeah, well, not a ton of folks in this industry have heard the term pro forma, and so just saying, like building out these folks are, at the PU level they're brilliant from a number standpoint. They look at things very differently, on a different, broader scale. So, beyond the best practice group that is every, brand in your platform that you gain, these are your brothers and sisters. They will help you with anything. I didn't have to build my entire electrical price book from scratch. That is a huge lift for most folks. Price books are a pain in the ass. I had my choice of about 5 different ones. I looked at them from different platform or different businesses on the platform, chose the one I wanted to use. They downloaded it. I've got it now. Made some tweaks. That saved me months, maybe a year, maybe probably tens of thousands of dollars. It flattened that lift. How do you pay your techs? What kind of things do you go after? I didn't have to start from the bottom. So being a part of a platform is a huge advantage, from a growth standpoint.
The ability to pick up a phone when you have an issue. I talk about this, we talked about this as well. What does it look like post-transaction? Hey, imagine you turn your phone off at 5 o'clock every day. I don't know how realistic it is, but theoretically, you're done. The employees that, and again, we're in a day and age where finding people is difficult. And how many owners do I talk to and how many business owners do I talk to that it's hard enough to find people and you're trying to retain people and you've got some cancer in your organization that you'd love nothing more for them to be gone, but I got to fill the spot. It's hard enough to get new people on. I can't fill things. I want to keep everybody here and add to it.
Yeah.
Man, that transaction's over. One of the best stories I ever heard was a gentleman who sold his business called, we had a conversation afterwards, post transaction. He goes, let me tell you, I had cancer in my business, brought him into the office. I said, by the way, the business, this is 100 days later. This is what it was. The partner was coming in to do that 100-day, let me introduce ourselves type of thing. And they do that for a reason, by the way. They want about 6 or 7 payrolls to go through with no hiccups. And they said, hey, we've been partnering already for 90 days. Not that big of a deal. It's already happened.
Yeah.
And he said he pulled the person aside the day before the partner came in and said, listen, tomorrow we're going to announce that I sold the business 90 days ago, 100 days ago, whatever the number was. And basically, you're fired. Here's all the reasons why. And here's an application. So if you want to come back to work here, we got a whole new set of rules you're going to be playing by. Because if you think I'm going to put up with what I put up with, it will not happen because I don't have to do it anymore. Because I got a marketing arm that's going to go ahead and simply find me employees. They're going to find me, people from work. And he said, the guy came back the next day and apologized. I didn't realize how bad it was. I had to sit down with my wife and took ownership of what a POS I had become. Refilled an application. He goes, it's one of his best guys now. Could you imagine?
What a game changer.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the paradigm shifted, right? The paradigm of power had shifted.
Yeah.
Think about it. We all went to, the nice part about being in business is you can control the shots and make all the moves and do all the things. Sometimes I think what gets lost in the translation is your clients or your employees. You got happy people. And by the way, I'm not saying that I'm not using that. That wasn't what I was talking about from before. But you had, again, I know it because we went through it with you. The way you treated your people was much, much different. They stuck with you. They stayed with you. It's post-transaction. I got to assume 95% of them probably still with you, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So you did something a little bit different with your people than most people do, but you also handled them differently. You looked at them as they were your customers. They are your clients, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's definitely key. As we, and I say we meaning Heartland and any group, right? I mean, it's not necessarily that we're buying the EBITDA for sure, because that's we're after the numbers. But at the same point, the biggest risk is the people. 100%. That's where the risk is, because you could make a considerable investment in a business, and it could be a shell tomorrow. So like your systems are super important, and taking care of your folks. And I know that everyone in this industry knows that now, because again, like to your point, we don't just throw a sign up out front and have a line at their door. So um, but we also need to expect, quality from our folks. We're going to pay you well, but we're going to expect high standards as well. So,
And you did that to a different level. You had really, really good people. I remember looking through the org chart and who was with you. But you also came in from a different place. I think that you came in maybe as a more mature owner who had already been on the other side, understood what it was like to be an employee. Some people, but anyhow, but you get it. You look at it from a different perspective and realize how important these people are to the overall well-being of your business. And to that end, even in a smaller market, grew a pretty substantial business. Your post-transaction now, you've got your people that are now their responsibilities at the home office, your home office, I'm sure
yeah,
have grown. And with increased responsibility also comes usually an increase in pay.
yeah,
So to that end, by putting this transaction together, and again, choosing the right partner, we always say that, like there's a chemistry fit here. There's two parts of this. You're going to get a number and there's going to be chemistry fit. Hopefully they both align. Like make a decision
right.
what you want. Are you most important about the number or chemistry fit? We find probably a third of the time our deals don't even go to the highest bidder because the chemistry fit isn't
I
there.
would agree with that 100%.
Because you're looking for a different, okay, what's it look great? I understand what it looks like for me, but what's it look like for my people? And if it's a little bit less today, but it's better for my people, big picture is going to be better for me anyhow, right? Take care of
Right.
the flock type of thing. And you did that. And this is going to be an interesting year, I think, across the board. We speak to a number of these CEOs of these PE firms. They're coming off some good numbers, good couple months, prepping up maybe to go to market. I wouldn't be surprised if another 2 to 5 of these guys
Yeah.
made a flip this year. Just listen, you had big things last year with Sela, obviously in Service Titan, making some moves in the fourth quarter. I think you'll see it again. I think it's going to be a good run for a couple of years. The multiples are there.
Yeah, I would agree. We've had some slight, turmoil, we'll say, in the market and
Sure.
such, and so interest rates are going to play some bit of a game in this, piece of this game. I sat through about a 2 hour meeting with a high level economist a couple of days ago, and it was their predictions are quite interesting. With respect to interest rates, like they're looking at interest rates being pretty reasonable and maybe coming down potentially over the next year, but then we could see things turning the other way, right? And so I would say that here I am at this meeting with a lot of other dealers. This was a Lennox thing, and so there's other contractors there. Many of them who have not had a transaction,
Oh
but
yeah.
everyone has it on their mind because at
Oh
some
yeah.
point, every business goes through a transaction, a good one or a bad one. It stays, it's inherited, whatever. But a transaction's happened one way or the other, and I'm talking with a couple of these people afterwards, and I'm like, some big companies, and I'm like, what do you take away from that? Like, man, I need to get serious about a transaction. If I'm going to do something over the next 5 years, I need to make it happen probably in the next 18 to 24. um,
Yes.
so my question to you as the expert, like, what does that line up with what you've sort of seen or what you're feeling with? I mean, there's never a guaranteed, but um, it's pretty interesting.
The only bad scenario is not to make a decision. So here's what I mean. I
Yeah,
think there's 3 different ways you could look at this, right? So let's pretend you think the world is going to go to hell in a handbasket. Then go make your deal happen and get paid. Because at least you'll be part of a private equity partner, which is going to have hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, in their fund, and they will be your safe harbor to get through this. Either you're going to pay to get through this, or they're going to pay to get through this, but you will have gotten paid.
yeah,
Okay, so it takes down for a year and a half. They've got the financial wherewithal to be able to go ahead and get themselves through this. Maybe your second payday is a little bit further out. Okay, no big deal. You're going to have your hair when it's all said and done, right? Unlike myself. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two, but it's going to keep growing. Okay, you make a deal happen. You've got stock in the growth. You're playing a leverage game. It's a different game, and you've taken your risk out of play, right? What I mean by risk is most owners, they're up on all the personal guarantees on everything that goes on with that business. A hiccup means they're writing a whole lot of checks, whatever that looks like. You make your deal happen, you roll your equity, you make sure you partner properly. Again, you call me, let's get an idea where some things are at and have a lot of these conversations. But you partner properly and you're going to get that second payday. You're going to take advantage of it anyhow because you're a private equity partner wants to sell more than you do. So they want to grow these things. They've got a time horizon to be able to make this happen. They got investors they want to pay back. And while yes, this helps with their next fund. When they say, hey, we close this fund out. By the way, all of our investors got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7x, whatever the number is. We're doing this again by show of hands who wants to be part of it. And everybody raise their hands. It's very easy to raise a fund. We've had a bunch of successful ones that you've already
for sure.
The only bad decision is if you don't do anything and the market goes down and now you're riding it out on your checkbook and now you got to wait for it to come back up,
Yeah. And I would say the market risks are steeper now than they've ever been because of I think because of PE groups a little bit. I mean, we've driven up, all of us together, we've driven up the cost of advertising Google is 3 times now what it was, just 3 years ago. We're buying better than the mom and pops. Like, I'm just saying, like, push come to shove, you don't want to get in the fight with a well-run PE backed company. You just don't.
There's a funny story there. We're listen, we talk to everybody in the industry. This. There's a couple folks that I'm buddies with. We'll call them on the Atlantic coast in some major markets. And, I get a phone call and they're like, what did you hear about X, Y, and Z company? I'm like, oh, we did a transaction from, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, why? He goes, man, we're competing on price with them now. And we were 4 or 5 times the size that they were. I said, they're PE backed. They're getting the best pricing there's available. They're getting enterprise pricing that you never had access to. And they're getting it across the board, which means more money to be able to do more things. So yes, I 100% agree with you. Not bad to be in that safe harbor,
And there's so many unforeseens. Yeah, it's not just the price equipment. I mean, that's where everybody likes to go to first, but it's the HR system.
Oh, yeah.
It's the insurance that we're paying less for. It's the vehicle acquisition. It's everything from top to bottom. And as these platforms become more and more sophisticated and they learn our businesses more, really, that's sort of what I'm doing every day. I'm teaching folks that are very, very brilliant at numbers and what they do, the nuances of our industry. And as they continue to get smarter and use data where I wasn't as sophisticated with respect to that, not like these dudes. Like their sword is being sharpened every day. And when you're in business for yourself, myself, I knew that I was doing way better than I ever anticipated I would ever do. And every day I was thinking, like, man, I just got to keep this thing on the rails to get to some point to a transaction, because I'm not going to call it a lottery ticket, but I'm holding something of great value here. And if I screw this up, like, it's gone forever. I'm going to have to start all over, if you will.
Right.
And so I'm just like, I need to keep this thing on the rails to get to a transaction. And then now I can turn it up again. And once you pull some of that equity off the table, you sleep better at night. And you also become more aggressive because, like, you can,
Yes.
and it's I don't know, it's a great position to be, for sure.
I couldn't agree more. As we wrap this up, any last tips, hints, everyday wisdom that you would give to anybody that's listening to this? By the way, if it's okay, anybody that's contemplating a transaction, listen, my contact information is going to be there. We'll do a free valuation. Let's get an idea where things are at. You can never be too early having a conversation with me. I don't care if you're not saying, Brian, I'm looking to do something till 2027, 2028. Doesn't matter. Let's start the conversations now. Let's see where the mistakes are and help you work through them. What I will do, and Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot. Anybody would like to have a conversation with Greg,
100%.
His phone number and information will be here at the bottom. Shoot him a text. Say, hey, I listened to the the interview here. Greg, do you mind? Can I steal your ear for a couple of minutes? I know the type of person you are, and I know that you'll give that time, and thank you for that ahead of time.
Yeah, yeah, easily, easily. I'm serious. Like anybody wants to come visit me, like see my operation. Again, we're an open door. I'll share everything. Like it's we literally are in this together. There's plenty to go around. So as far as a tip, Brian, when I reached out to you, I had no intention really of selling, to be honest. I was doing it solely as a way to learn where I was not doing well, so that I could sharpen my sword, if you will, and come back with something bigger, better to sell. It just turned out that your folks, and I didn't know that at the time, right? They came from like maybe a buy side broker or something like that.
Darcy and Leona, who are some of our CPAs in house, used
Oh
to
my
work on the buy
goodness.
side. Yeah, and now they work on the sell side. It's like the
Yeah,
prosecution become the defense.
it's cheating. Honestly, it's cheating a little bit. Seriously. So Darcy is rock star,
Yep.
unbelievable, right?
Yep.
So I mean, I'm taking good data that we have, it's clean, and just these crazy spreadsheets and pro formas and things that I didn't know could be an ad back and all this kind of stuff, like super super important. And so choosing your partner that you are going to go to market with is super important. I don't care what anybody says, you are leaving a ridiculous amount of money on the table if you do not choose the right partner or a partner. If you think you're going to save money by doing it on your own, you're fucking nuts. I mean, that's my swear word for the day. You are nuts. Like it's the I mean, it's insane to think that you're gonna go through a transaction like this. You're gonna swim with sharks that are the PE groups. And I mean, you're a guppy, dude. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. They will eat you alive. They'll tell you that they give you 15 times. They give you 15 times on a fraction of earnings that you really earn. So
Yeah.
it looks like you got 15 times, but yeah. So choose a good partner. Didn't plan on doing this transaction, but the data looks so good, and your team did such an amazing job, and
And the number was there. You didn't think it was there, right?
no. I was blown away. So even if you think you aren't ready, I would tell anybody, and I tell everybody now, it's like there's no cost to learn. Like have a conversation, man. Like it's
Greg, I'm like you.
no-brainer.
Call me. I have conversations all day long.
Yeah.
With everybody about everything.
Yeah.
One of the neat ones is we got a transaction completed recently. And during the management meetings, I can't make this up. The guy said, how did you turn this so quickly? He goes, well, I had a conversation with Brian Cohen over at SF&P. We got on call, looked at numbers and said, you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He goes, and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He goes, that was 18 months ago. The business went boom, boom. So, I mean, we're here, we're a resource, we're an asset. Ultimately I want to handle your transaction for you, but if you're not where you need to be, let's get an idea of
Yeah.
what you need to tune in and dial in order to be able to go ahead and get there. Greg, thank you very, very much for your time today. Absolutely appreciate it. Great seeing you again. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. You got summer right around the corner, don't you?
Yeah, please. Yes. Bring the heat, baby. Yeah.